2. And I should go over right now before I get too crazy here and make sure that I've got YouTube mic off. Oh, let's see here.
What's the study today?
We're going to study Deuteronomy chapter 8.
Oh, it just popped up. I'm
going to stick one video on and make sure that I have my mic off. There we go. Off. You're off now. Great. Okay. Oh, let's see. I also want to make sure that let's see if we're going live here. Live. Okay, I think maybe we are live. Great, it says we're live. All right, well, Shabbat Shalom, y'all. We are here on, we're in the 9th month on the first Shabbat of the month. And we just had the half illuminated moon last night. And we are going to be studying Deuteronomy 8. So you're welcome to join us. And let's see, I'm going to pull up a screen here, back over to my Zoom. And I will pull up our Deuteronomy 8 study here. Let me go ahead and quiet Discord and share the screen. Here we go. Over here and pull up, let's see. I'm going here. Just Deuteronomy 8 ISR. Here we go. Great. Does anybody want to read? You able to see the screen, Terry? Is it up?
Yeah, screen's up.
Okay. Leah, do you want to read? All right. Okay, I'm going to read then. So this is Deuteronomy 8. Guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live and shall increase and go in and shall possess the land of which YaHuWaH swore to your fathers. And you shall remember that YaHuWaH your Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you, prove you, to know what is in your heart, whether you guard his commands or not. And he humbled you and let you suffer hunger, and fed you with manna which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of YaHuWaH. Your garments did not wear out on you, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. Thus you shall know in your heart that as a man disciplines his son, so YaHuWaH your Elohim disciplines you. Therefore you shall guard the commands of YaHuWaH your Elohim, to walk in his ways and to fear him. For YaHuWaH your Elohim is bringing you into a Tob land, a land of streams of water, of fountains and springs that flow out of the valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land in which you eat bread without scarcity, in which you do not lack at all, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you dig copper. And you shall eat and be satisfied, and shall bless YaHuWaH, Barak YaHuWaH your Elohim, for the Tob land which he has given you. Pull this up a little bit. Be on guard lest you forget YaHuWaH your Elohim by not guarding his commands and his right rulings and his laws which I command you today, lest you eat and shall be satisfied, and build lovely houses and shall dwell in them. And your herds and your flocks increase, and your silver and your gold are increased, and all that you have is increased, that your heart then becomes lifted up, and you forget YaHuWaH your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, from the house of bondage, who led you through that great and awesome wilderness, fiery serpents and scorpions and thirst, where there was no water, who brought water for you out of the flinty rock, who led you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, in order to humble you and to try you, to do you Tob in the end. You then shall say in your heart, my power and the strength of my hand have made for me this wealth. But you shall remember YaHuWaH your Elohim, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, in order to establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers as it is today. And it shall be if you by any means forget YaHuWaH your Elohim and follow other mighty ones and serve them and bow yourself to them. I have warned you this day that you shall certainly perish. Like the nations which YaHuWaH is destroying before you, so you are to perish, because you did not obey the voice of YaHuWaH your Elohim. Okay. So this, of course, is before they're going into the land, just before. And this is Moses speaking.
It's kind of like where we are right now.
Yeah.
Exactly, before we go into the promised land.
Exactly.
Is
Sorry,
such a
Darla. I was just gonna say I went over to the YouTube channel, so I wasn't prepared when you asked me to read.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
40 is such a big number in scripture. You know?
Yeah.
See 40 so much. Anybody know why? Anybody got any ideas on that?
Well, there was that sense of the 40 days and nights of the rain coming down, right? So there was like a completeness to that. That was the complete amount of rain that was going to fall.
And wasn't Yeshua in the wilderness? Was he in there 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness? Was he tempted in the wilderness?
I think it was. And also we had Moshe up on the mountain for the 40 days.
Yeah, yeah. And he actually used this during his temptation. He quoted scripture out of Deuteronomy 8. You know, man shall not live by bread alone.
Yeah, the reason I brought this chapter to study today, was because I was shocked to find this is not in the Hebrew. Word is not there.
It's not in the Hebrew in 3.
It's not, because see how it's italics? In italics? Yeah. And that's actually, we were talking about this book before we went live, Terry. Healing Codes of the Biological Apocalypse. That's one of the kind of goofy things about this author's, as I'm critically reading through it, it's like, okay, well, there's some toe points, and then let's just critically look at this stuff. But part of the thing in this book is that these two authors believe that the King James, for instance, has encoded secret information that the elites use. And he thinks that these italic words are words that, we need to look at those words because they put them there. And they did put them there because they're not there in the Hebrew. But they want to make a point of, let's grab on those words. And then they're just like Hebrew gematria, where every letter has a number. They also do this in English. And although they bring up the Hebrew, they try to make a valid point that from A to Z is 1 to 26, and you can also use those numbers, those words and stuff in gematria. And so you can even look at this word W-O-R-D, and that you would have a letter value. Obviously, the D is like the fourth letter, so the rest of them I'd have to figure out. The R would be like a 24. So those two letters right there is 28. And so they would have these values, and instead of them looking up a Strong's number for the value of that word, or what other Hebrew words, for instance, have the same values as in gematria, they would just deal with a frequency of these four letters, what those four letters might end up entailing. But it's interesting to me that this word is not in the Hebrew. So let's go look at that. Why isn't the word in Hebrew? So we're going to get to verse 4 here. Or I think it was 3, actually.
3.
Yeah, 3. Okay, so man shall not live by bread alone. So you got the not by bread here alone. Shall man live, but by every that proceeds So it's like everything that precedes, or so then we've got this word motza, which sounds a lot like matzah.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that precedes, or every that proceeds from the mouth of YaHuWaH, that's what man lives by.
In the Aleph Tah scriptures, right there, it is in italics. The word is in italics, and it's Strong's number 4161. And it is 4161 Motzah.
Yeah, that's this word, but it doesn't mean word, I don't think.
Well, it's saying a going forth and egress. So
Yeah.
that's what that one were. That's 4161. So it just skipped that. But by every mystery right there, little mystery, not in the Hebrew.
Little mystery. Yeah. A place or act of going forth, issue, export, source, and spring. A lot of times you'll hear like New Age people, they'll talk about, source. Instead of saying YaHuWaH or God, they'll say source, right? But this is it, source.
Well, it's got utterance down there. So utterance would be speech, that would be word. So did you see that up there where it said utterance?
Was it in the very top?
Yeah, it's like utterance. See it?
I don't see it right here.
Oh no, not right there. If you keep going down a little bit, there says utterance.
So a going forth, so it's something that's going forth. I just think that's interesting because if it did say the word, if it said every word, we might not look at this word so hard. But now we have to look at this word, right? We might just go, okay, every word that precedes, okay. But it's really more about the preceding, it looks like, a going forth. Goings forth of exile, a way out, an exit, that which goes forth. Here's the utterance of mouth or lips. All right, well, there's the mouth part right there, the P. Place of going forth. I think this is an interesting phrase. Place of going forth. Source or spring of water. So source or spring. Place of departure.
That's cool. Place of departure.
Ooh, growing place.
Growing place. Place where silver comes.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting over here. There is a mine for silver. Okay, a mine. A vein for the silver.
Causing
to bud. Seeds. And here, how about it's rising is from one end of the heavens to the earth. So it's rising is going forth. So it says it's from Yatsa, a going forth, the act and egress, or the place and exit, hence a source or product, specifically dawn, the rising of the sun. Exportation, utterance, a gate, a fountain, a mine, a meadow, as producing grass, brought out, bud, that which came out, east, going forth, goings out, that which thing that is gone out, and outgoing, proceeded out, spring, vein, watercourse, or springs.
That's interesting because they're getting ready to cross the Jordan water, so they're going to be going to cross that, which I've always thought of that as like a gate. That's a gate or a portal into the promised land.
The go or come out. This kind of makes me think of the Yahtzee dice game, right? Where the dice get juggled around and then they get poured out of a cup. Yatsa. To go or come out. Those kinds of an English analogies help us remember what a word is or means, or gives us some sort of a way to assemble it into our language. And so the earth brought forth vegetation. So it's that budding idea again, or springing forth. Let the earth bring forth living creatures. And river flowed out of Eden. Terry, I was wondering if you could bring up the Aramaic where YaHuWaH said, man will not live by bread alone, and see what was there for, but by every word.
Okay, let me see if I can do that.
If I stop share, do you think you could bring it up on screen?
I don't have Aramaic for Deuteronomy. I don't have that on my computer. I only have Aramaic for the New Testament.
No, that's what I mean, where YaHuWaH was talking to the devil.
Oh, in his temptation. Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering what he said there.
Yeah, let me get there. I can share screen. Let me find it. So where is that? Do you know? Was that in John?
I wonder if that's about Matthew. No, I think it's Luke. Maybe about Luke 4.
Okay, let's see here. The temptation, right. Let me share screen here.
Okay.
Um
I'm thinking it's in Luke 4, maybe.
yeah, let's see. Sorry, let me get all this cleared off. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, the temptation. So get anything, and what specifically are you looking for?
So we're looking for what word they have in the Aramaic for word. So just below that, yeah. So Yeshua answered, it says.
You took him up to a mountain. Okay, so let's see what he says here when he's talking about the bread.
I think you might have passed.
Did I pass it? It's probably the first thing, wasn't it, with hunger?
Yeah, right after hunger. It was right after hunger. Yeah. He was hungry at the end.
We return
Okay, so
spirit of
after
the
that
Jordan. So he's been at the gate. He's at Jordan. Yeah. Okay, he would be tempted the devil, and he ate anything in those days. When he had finished, at the end he was hungry, and said to him, the devil, son, you are the son. Say to this stone that it shall become bread. And Yeshua answered Yeshua and said to him, it is written that by bread it is written.
every statement, there it is. It's in the bottom word in the middle.
By every statement. Yeah, so there's pay. So there's, let's see what that says, statement. Yeah, so it skipped it. That's smart, Darla. You're a smart woman. Go back and look at it where he quoted it. Statement. Word.
Mm-hmm. I'll look it up in the Kleins.
Aleph. Let's see what the Greek has to say. Utterance.
Rhema.
Rhema.
Yeah, it said Rhema there. On the previous word you were on that, maybe it was the 4487.
4487.
There you go, Rhema. That says Rhema in utterance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Tog Gimel Mem, yeah?
To contradict or dispute, answer again, reply against, a response and answer. A statement.
So interesting. It says in the Kleins, it says edict, decree, a saying, and the New Hebrew is a saying or a proverb. And then Aramaic and Syriac, word or command.
Well, this started off saying that you remember every command.
Yes, it sure did. It started out that way. So I've heard it said before that when Yahushua was on the stake and he said, "Why have you forsaken me?" It was to take the people back to Psalm 22, so that in essence, when Yahushua or anybody in the Brit Hadashah, aka the New Testament, when they speak, and it takes us back to the Tanakh, aka the Old Testament, it's as if it's an address for the whole chapter. So for him to say something that's in Deuteronomy chapter 8 here, 8 verse 3, it would take us back to that whole chapter in essence. And that's how that whole chapter begins, that we would keep the commands of YaHuWaH. Right? So yeah. Go back to the screen again. There we go. And so if we go back and look at this chapter, guard to do. So it's as if when Yahushua speaks, he's bringing us back to this chapter. It's not just this version, this piece of verse 3, but he's bringing us back to the whole chapter to read the whole chapter.
Mm.
And in his communication with the devil there, he has 3 different things that he responds to the devil with, and they're all 3 in Deuteronomy 6 and Deuteronomy 8. So those are the 2 chapters that he's bringing us to. And so these are the words of the Messiah. He's bringing us here in his time of hunger at a 40-day fast, when he's challenged to turn the stones into bread. He's saying, guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live and shall increase. Like, does this sound like those horrible commands that we have to keep?
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
those feasts, those horrible feasts. Yeah, no, what you shall increase and go in and possess the land. Yeah, how wonderful.
Exactly.
Pomegranates and figs and mansions that you're going to live in. Yeah, this is so, talking to us at this time too.
Right. Yeah, when it comes down to it, I would not be happy to have, bread and grapes and figs and pomegranates and oil and honey.
Yeah. But it's like be on that verse 11, be on your guard lest you forget YaHuWaH Elohim. That's when you start to swagger, and think if it's because of your own self that you did it, he's going to discipline you. He's going to discipline you so that you come back and know that it's by his will. It's him who's clearing out the land before you. He's already, it's not by you. It's not you. That your heart becomes lifted up. And, that reminds me so much of when it talks about Satan in heaven, in the rebellion in heaven, his heart was lifted up. His heart was, he thought it was ego. It started with the ego, self.
Heart gets lifted up and they forget. This just looks like such a picture of today, doesn't it?
Oh man, does it ever? And even more so today, selfies. Everything is about self. And we know that from the word that it's going to be like that, about so selfish.
Yeah.
Selfish and egotistical and all about the love of money. And saying your heart becomes lifted up and you forget.
Yeah. I saw this movie last night. Ashlyn wanted me to see it, and I wish I don't know the name of it. If Judah walks by, I'll ask if he knows the name of the movie. My son Keaton wanted us to watch it, so Ashlyn had seen it, and then he wanted to watch it with me. So I was thankful when my son Ashlyn wants me to watch a movie with him. I was like, you bet I'm going to sit and watch a movie with him, because we just don't get that much time together to share something. But it was such an impactful movie, you guys. It started. Maybe you guys have seen it. You could just clue me into what the name is. I don't know, but it starts off with this psychiatrist, and he's got like a partner that's just committed suicide, and his job is to go into a prison and decide if a guy is sane enough to get the electric chair. And so he's got to go in and interview this just really vicious criminal, and there's some question as to whether he's sane or not. Turns out that he's demon possessed. And actually, Glenn Beck is in the movie at the very end of the movie. And I was surprised about that. But this psychiatrist does not believe in the creator at all. He's very much the heart's lifted up. He's forgotten his Elohim. But it's just so interesting to hear the communication between this demon and this psychiatrist, that he's actually picked out the psychiatrist to come to him. You know, with his power and whatever, you know, he's arranged all that to happen. And
like on a satanic level, like a demonic level?
Like a supernatural level. He has arranged for this person to come, for the other person to commit suicide. And so sometimes it's the demon. Usually it's the demon that's talking to the psychiatrist, who doesn't believe in the creator and also doesn't believe in demons. And it's so dumb in the movie, because he asked, well, how did you get into Edward? And he's like, oh, it started when he was a little boy, and you know, just a little innocent thing when he was 4 years old, steal the little truck, just a little innocent thing. And then when he was 8, his grandmother gave him a Ouija board, and we you know, he talks about his master. Of course, we know who that is.
Yeah, I'd love to know the name of that movie.
I'll definitely I'll put it in the description as soon as I get back with Ashley. He's in school right now, but it was so interesting because it impacts you as a believer. It impacts you, and it's about he talks about what their attack is on man, and how easy. He said there's going to be so many going to hell, because
I so want to know what that movie is.
It was, and it was, at first I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. It just looks like it's going to be really bad. I did close my eyes at the end when he does get the electric chair. The demon wants the body to go to the electric chair, and the demon has forced the man, who's just like a whimpering. When he comes up, he's just like a whimpering, slobbering. He's been so beaten and broken by this demon. The demon breaks his fingers, you know, just and gets him beat all the time by the cops and the prison guards and stuff. And he's going to the electric chair for killing 6 people, but it's the demon that's killed them, not the man. You know, it's like that kind of thing. But it's just the communication he has with this psychiatrist that doesn't believe in the creator at all, and he doesn't believe in the demon. And so he ends up, the demon says, you're going to kill 3 people before the end of the day. And, you know, he ends up being one of those 3.
That's interesting, because Messiah, he would talk to the demon, you know, the demon and the man.
That is interesting. And the man, because he doesn't believe in demons and he doesn't believe in the creator, he ends up, the guy's like, invite me in. And he goes, okay, come on in. And nothing happens right then and there, but it does happen later. And, you know, and he's like, you can't kill me. I'm not killable, but we're going to kill Edward, you know, the guy, the host body. It was a psycho thriller kind of thing. And, but it impacted our belief on the positive, because it just made it so real what they're really about. And yeah, it was a very impactful movie. It's phenomenal, Ashland was surprised that they even let the movie out because it was so real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's the knowledge of good and evil. I mean, we
Yeah,
have to
and the
have them.
heart becoming lifted up so that this man didn't need a creator, but now he's got a big problem because he's got a demon on his, monkey on his back. He's got a demon on his back, but he's still, even at the end, does not accept the creator. He wants to save people from going to hell, but it can't be done without the creator.
Wow, powerful movie. I mean, that sounds
Yeah.
like they're trying to tell us something. The dark side is trying to is communicating. They're probably communicating truth because, yeah, it's so.
Yeah, it was kind of like I remember a line out of Hook with Dustin Hoffman. He's like, "Lie never. The truth is far too much fun." It's like that was sort of this demon's perspective. It's like he didn't have any reason to lie. He had all the power.
Yeah, a lot of revelation in that.
Denied. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to know the enemy. We have to know this. We have to have a knowledge of this.
Yeah, and his big thing was just get man to worship himself. That's all you got to do. Just get him to serve himself. Well, that's their whole end game.
That just says our whole world.
Right. It's right here, right in front of us, YaHuWaH's words. Then that your heart then becomes lifted up, and you forget you. It's like, do you remember YaHuWaH? Do you know people who have forgotten him? We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Darla. This is Gail.
Hey,
Shalom,
Gail.
everybody.
Hey.
Let me go back here just a minute in that. I do want to say just one little thing before I do this. That word, the word in Hebrew is dabar, and you're going to find that in Strong's. And some of the time they use that word as a supplied utterance or whatever, but in Hebrew it's dabar. What you were just reading, let me go back. I think it's in verse 18.
Oh, okay. I'm beyond that. Yeah, here.
Okay, I'll start with 18. But you shall remember Jehovah, your Elohim, for it is he that gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant. And many people don't understand that when you get wealth, it is to establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers. And the point is that we begin to think that this way determines the limit of what Jehovah can bless us with. And he gives us the ability to receive wealth, to establish the covenant for his kingdom, and not to use it for lavish lifestyles.
Yeah.
And so this verse is often quoted in part, but they leave out establishing his covenant.
Yes.
It's left off in order to appeal to the people's desires. Oh, money, wealth, a tool that we may be given to establish his kingdom, not a goal to strive for.
Yeah.
So money is good and we all need it. However, there's an awful lot of greed. And we've got brothers and sisters out there that are suffering. And to see somebody suffering and you are living in a lavish lifestyle, that money is given to you regardless if it's $100 or $1 million. That money is given to you to establish his covenant.
Yeah.
And to further the kingdom. And that doesn't mean you can't do some things for yourself. Absolutely. But wealth is a tool. Money is a tool. And so that we can also support the kingdom. And people forget that. They forget that. He gives you the power to get wealth. He gives you, he gives you wealth, or he gives you a paycheck, or, I have to go very carefully on what I have, very carefully. And so, but I always want to make sure I've got a little something aside to help somebody. And so, and we're to be grateful and thankful. And it's like when you are eating, when you're full, the blessing before the meal, the homotzi, and the blessing is called Berkat ha mozon, I think it is. But anyways, we got to be grateful and thankful for our food and for our property, our home, our family, our vehicles, anything that we have, we got to be grateful for, because he does give you the desires of your heart, and he does give you the ability to have income. So I think people sometimes forget that it is a covenant for the kingdom, that he gives us wealth because he wants us to help our brothers and sisters.
Look at that verse 19. This is like so stern. If by any means you forget YaHuWaH, your Elohim, and follow other mighty ones and serve them and bow yourself to them, I have warned you this day that you shall certainly perish.
Yeah.
He talks a lot about wealth and money, the love of money, and that it's easier for a rich man, or it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. That little thing he said about the eye of a camel, or the eye of a needle of a camel. A camel to walk through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter into the kingdom.
Yeah, how hard is it to say your power and the strength of your hand have made for me this wealth? He says it is he who gives you the power to get wealth.
Yeah, there's a lot of swaggering going on this planet. I see it. Nashville is a very wealthy town now. People have come here from all over. The traffic, everybody that's from here, we're all just like moving out. We can't afford our property taxes anymore. They have come in and moved us out, and it is a swagger, wealthy town. It happened really fast.
Wow. I remember that area was in a book by Kathy O'Brien. Part of the story happens in Nashville. The Transformation of America.
A book by what? I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that. There's
very little I can probably say, but it's by Kathy O'Brien. And her book is, and I think you can find a PDF online for free, Transformation of America.
Called Transformation of America, and it talks about Nashville. Wow.
Nashville's in it. Nashville's a setting that happens.
It's happening here.
There's evil going on. Yep.
And it's called Transformation, just that one word.
Transformation. 2 words. Trans.
Okay.
That is you could say that's an X-rated book. It is it is child sex slave.
Oh dear. Really?
Yeah. They call her the presidential model. This was over 30 years ago. She was freed from that life.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
In Nashville. Well,
because they killed them at 30 years old.
Oh dear. That's so awful.
Saved.
Well, Nashville, we're talking about frequencies, and Nashville is the country music capital of the world. You know,
Yes.
country music is huge. We have two wicked industries here. We have disease care is huge, hospital businesses and medicine. Nashville is known for that, Hospital Corporation of America. And then, of course, the music industry. Yeah, there's been a lot of money made. And you know, music industry, we know Lucifer was a musician in heaven. So he knows how these frequencies affect us, and he's using them.
Yeah, and how's the child sex slave market in that area?
It's probably terrible. I've actually heard that before, that it's just as wicked as Hollywood.
Yeah, I would
You know,
imagine.
we have a lot of
This
big
book was written
producers.
40 years ago now.
Yeah, Nashville, you know, a lot of music producers, and Belmont University. We have a lot of that. I'm sure it's, you know, so many people come here to make it big in the music industry. It's sort of like Hollywood.
Yeah, I can imagine. Imagine it's all grown up.
It's all grown up.
All,
Very
Yeah.
wicked. Very wicked.
yeah. So, and then of course in verse 19 and then 20, and it shall be if you by any means forget YaHuWaH your Elohim and follow other mighty ones and serve them and bow yourself to them, I have warned you this day that you shall certainly perish like the nations which YaHuWaH is destroying before you. So you are to perish because you did not obey the voice of YaHuWaH your Elohim. So there's this sense that the nations are destroyed for following other mighty ones and serving them and bowing to them. They get destroyed for that. And they're not obeying the voice of YaHuWaH. They don't even know the voice of YaHuWaH.
Mm. Yeah. Is
So
there a
disobedience
difference?
brings destruction.
Is there a difference between a nation and a kingdom as far as scripture?
This is probably going to be the word goyim here. And so that wouldn't be kingdom, but we can go look and see the interlinear for verse 20.
You know, interesting too, in that how he says if you follow other mighty ones. You know, the Father is not saying that there aren't other mighty ones. He's saying there are other mighty ones. You know,
Yeah.
he's not denying that there are other there are other Elohims. You know, not.
Yeah. So this is a word that is a bit hidden, but generally this is translated to Gentiles. King James Version translates it to Gentiles. And these are those who are not in the covenant with YaHuWaH. They are the heathen nations. Sometimes it is translated to heathens. So it's basically those that are not keeping the everlasting covenant of YaHuWaH. So it says apparently from the same root as Gavah in the sense of massing, a foreign nation, hence a Gentile. So foreign, that though those are the ones that don't know the covenant of YaHuWaH. A foreign nation, hence a Gentile. It says a troop of animals or a flight of locusts, a Gentile, a heathen, a nation, a people. These are people that don't know the covenant of YaHuWaH.
A flight of locusts. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
In the end days, you know, it's interesting. I just thought of this because he says, which is a promise I claim every day, is I'm going to return to you all the year that the locusts have stolen. And then it talks about in the end days, you know, Abaddon, who's the king is Abaddon, who is Satan, who is the devil, that's his name, Apollyon, and they, you know, the locusts come out. It's interesting, all the word locust, where it is and what it represents.
Interesting. It says it's from this word that it gets translated to the back. The back. By extensive, the person, the body.
like shot in the back.
But a rod is for the back of him who lacks understanding, and blows for the back of fools. The back, by analogy, the middle. My sins behind your back. Huh. Interesting. So this I didn't realize that goyim had much to do with the back, but there's a sense of the back that gets beaten, really. I see that a couple places. A rod is for the back of him who lacks. So it's as if it's saying the back is the thing that gets beaten. My sins behind your back. I gave my back to those who strike. So it's kind of scary that this word goyim comes from this as the root word. There's YaHuWaH. Yep. That's pretty interesting to me. When you think about the nations and you think about all of those backs that stand to be beaten in their foolishness. Oh, that's a picture. That's a picture right there.
Mhm.
Because people are taken into captivity when an oppressor has come in to by YaHuWaH's bringing them in to destroy a nation. I mean, that's just wow. When you think about our borders being open,
Yeah.
that's out there. People are talking about the millions that are coming in, young soldier ages.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I just wonder how many people are really excited and looking forward to the new year. Like things are going to be great. You know, I mean, how can you think that? How can you think that if you've really got it? If you're looking at current events and you're a student of scripture, how can you think that? I think it's a very pensive moment right now for everybody.
I just clicked on this word, a cave, which looks like Yaakov. To me, this looks like Yaakov, right? Without a yod on the front. It's like because consequence is a consequence of, and then it says the first example of that word is Genesis 22, shall be Baruch because you have obeyed. Because you've obeyed. Let's find that Genesis 22. See who's obeying in Genesis 22. Let's go with ISR here. You're Baruch because you've obeyed. I think it was 22. Yep. And the messenger of YaHuWaH in verse 15. The messenger of YaHuWaH called to Abraham a second time from the heavens and said, by myself I have sworn, declares YaHuWaH, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, that I shall certainly barak you, and I shall certainly increase your seed as the stars of the heavens and as the sand which is on the seashore. Let your seed possess the gate of their enemies, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be Baruch, because you have obeyed. So this was a cave, which Yaakov,
Consequence.
yeah, consequence. It's a consequence. You shall be Barak or Baruch. You shall be Baruch because you've obeyed my voice. But my point is this is very close to his grandson's name, Yaakov.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Yaakov.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like saying, I'll remember the consequence. That his grandson's name was Yaakov. And the blessing went that direction for Yaakov, not Esau. Right? I think that's really cool. I think that's awesome. We stumbled on that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Also, I noticed in 18, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. It said all the nations in 18, and you're
Yeah.
all. That means every single one,
Ah,
they're everywhere. Seed is everywhere.
the seed is everywhere. Yeah, he said, I will scatter. What is that? Yezreel. Yezreel, which is a play on Yasharel. It's Yezreel. He will sow. He will sow the seed. He will scatter the seed.
And then
Yeah,
he'll harvest. He'll harvest.
he will harvest. Okay, we'll go back to Deuteronomy 8. So even then, though, that Yahuwah would take us to Genesis 22, where it's talking about Abraham's obedience. And then that word because. I mean, that's a beautiful word. And as children, physical or spiritual descendants of Yaakov, we can hold on to that word akade because as a consequence
Mm,
Abraham's obedience,
mm.
because of a consequence of our obedience. So guard to do every command which I command you today, that you might live and shall increase and go in and shall possess the land. Because he still swore that land to the fathers, right?
Mhm. I mean, this is so talking about right now. It's talking about heaven, that you can go in and possess heaven. If
Yeah,
you-
I actually think that we all have land over there in the land as well. Remember how it says that they never did conquer all the land Yahuwah told them to conquer. There was more land to be conquered, and they didn't go in and take it all.
yeah. If you think about it, we're dust. So we are Israel. So we are the land. We are the land.
And the people come back at the end of the Jubilee, right? There's nobody going back over there to be like, I need give me my land. Here I am. No, Yahuwah's going to have to make that happen. I've also heard it said that a Messiah is not just one that dies for his people, but he takes them to the land. So Moshe was a Messiah in that sense because he took them to the land.
And then Joshua led them into the
Yeah,
land.
exactly.
Joshua led them into the land after they were circumcised. They were circumcised before they could cross over.
That's right.
And so it says our hearts will be circumcised, and it says we'll obey him. We won't have to be taught because we already know. We know.
Yes.
We know his commandments. We know his laws. We've been tested, and we've studied, and we're citizen. Our citizenship is in heaven, so we get to go home.
And I think it's also interesting in the sense that we've had a plague or two here recently, right? And people wanted to run out and get things because of their fear, what they were taught on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Here it says, "Man does not live by bread alone." It doesn't say by an injection in the arm either. But this is what it says: everything that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. So that's how we live. That's how we live.
You have to come to the end of yourself before you can live like that.
Yeah.
You do.
Well, I always think of Yahushua also saying that nobody can come to the Father unless the Father calls him.
Yeah. So that goes. I've thought about that the other day. Like he chose us.
Yes.
Like he chose us. Isn't that an incredible thought, y'all? He chose us. We didn't choose him. He chose us. That's why we're here. That's why we love his word. That's why we're studying his word, because he chose us. He marked us.
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. That's just so confirming to me.
Yeah. And somehow going back to the thinking about that movie last night where the demon was like, we chose Edward when he was a little boy. We've been working on this for a long time. Well, YaHuWaH chose us. He chose us. And some people like Leah came late to Yahushua, right? Came late to YaHuWaH, later in life. And so that is such a huge testimony as well, because YaHuWaH knew all along what it took to get Leah to come to him, and she didn't have the upbringing that some of us did, where we were raised in church through our whole life, from infancy. Because he's got a plan for people that aren't brought up in that way. They're brought up in another way, and it's just beautiful. His plan for each and every person. He knows exactly what he needs to do to reach into our world and call us. And that we come, like, there's not a thing I could do to be somebody different, right? It's just like, we're there because he's called us. It's just part of our nature. It's just like, the dog walks on all fours and gets into trash, and that's part of his nature. A cat's got a different nature, it's like the aloofness, able to climb up into the trees, kill the birdie, kill the moth, just such a curiosity, just don't eat, just kill things, rodents and things like that. We all have a nature. And then so there are believers, and then there are like the other guy in the movie he wasn't there yet. He was on his way to there, but he didn't make it there by the end of the movie. But the demon was still close by. Interesting, of course, they're in verse 4, their garments didn't wear out. They didn't have to go to, pay less and buy a new pair of shoes. They've got their shoes, their garments. It says, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. Like they had able-bodied feet for 40 years to walk the wilderness. They were maintained. Their health was maintained. I always thought it was so interesting too that why were they not circumcising their children on the 8th day? Like they had stored up all these circumcisions before they would go into the land. Wonder what was the decision process that they weren't circumcising their babies at 8 days old?
I don't know. I wondered that.
Yeah. What do you think, Gail? Or Sherry?
Okay. Sorry, I had you on mute.
No worries.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Well, why weren't they circumcising their babies in the wilderness? But they waited right before they went into they waited the 40 years.
I have to think on that one.
Because that was a command given in Leviticus.
Maybe they were not ready for the covenant, because that was a covenant. Do you think because they had to go through the golden calf?
I wonder if they had lost the so we know that Moshe's boys were circumcised, on their way back into Egypt, right? Before the people were freed, before the plagues. But I wonder if the people had lost the custom, lost the commandment to circumcise, so they were out of habit. That, coming out of Egypt, we had all the boys that were slaughtered at some point. I wonder if they had lost the custom of circumcision.
Well, they wouldn't have had it in Egypt, would they? They wouldn't have that in Egypt.
No.
That was given by Moses.
It was a custom then.
Yes,
because if you think about it, Abraham, it was established with Abraham.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it was a custom. It wasn't that they lost it, but it was an acceptance of the covenant. And if you remember, there was rebellion in the desert. So, but
you think
if
they
you
were
sit
circumcised
there,
all along in Egypt?
Huh?
Do you think that they were circumcising all along in Egypt, even to the very end before they left, that the babies were being circumcised? Or do you think they lost it
The
somewhere?
ones that were following YaHuWaH, yes. You know, because it was that was the acceptance of the proof of the acceptance of the Abraham covenant. And when God said because of their rebellion that they weren't going to go to the promised land, they may have stopped circumcising so that their sons would not come under that covenant.
Well, we know that Moshe's sons were not circumcised, until they're right at the end, so that his wife could save their lives.
Yeah. But the ones wandering in the desert and with Egypt, the ones that were in rebellion,
Yeah.
I feel like that when they were told they weren't going to live to see the promised land because they had defied or they rebelled against the covenant, they may have not circumcised their sons so that they would not be under the covenant. That
What
may
a
have
sad. That'd be so sad, wouldn't it? To know you're not going, don't even circumcise him. He's not going in the promised land, to just wander around with not being circumcised, knowing you're not part of the covenant, you're not going in. That'd be a bad wandering.
that would be, if you look at the types of rebellion the people were doing, that would make sense. Now, there's something interesting about the circumcision, why they do it on the 8th day. Because after the 8th day, until the 8th day, there's no nerves down there. So it's not painful. But after the 8th day, it becomes it becomes nervated and it becomes very painful to circumcise.
And the vitamin K is very high on the 8th day. The very
That's when, yes, that as well. That vitamin K is essential for the blood to clot.
Makes me think of Shechem, when they went in and circumcised all the males, and waited till they were sick to go in and kill them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until they were weak and recovering. Yeah.
Another thought that came to me while you were talking is, I don't know if the circumcision was lost in a sense, but it could be when they were in captivity.
Yeah.
Because to be circumcised meant that you were Hebrew, and to maybe not disclose and to keep hidden the secret things. I don't know, it's just speculation on my part, but maybe to hide their identity. And, when you're under persecution, because all you have to do is strip down, and they can tell you whether you're a pagan or whether you're a Hebrew.
Interesting, because
I don't know.
If Moses, when Moses was put in the basket and found by Pharaoh, he would have been past 8 days. So Pharaoh's daughter would know if maybe that's how she knew he was a Hebrew, because his family, weren't they Levites?
Yes.
Well,
they were Levites.
He also had a cloth. He had a blanket. He had a cloth that identified him as the Hebrew, because that came.
Yeah, he was
later
about 3 months.
So she had to know that he was Hebrew when she picked up that baby, but that baby was hidden in identity.
I just wonder if he was circumcised.
Yeah, says, let me think here. There's a scripture that says, he concealeth things. I can't remember it right now. But he keeps hidden the secret things, maybe.
That's Deuteronomy 29:29.
Secret things. So, the secret things. In fact, we're not even supposed to cast our pearls before, people who don't believe, swine, the pagans, the goyim, or whatever, the nations, because they won't receive it. So in order to preserve the identity of the people, maybe there was a period of time. I don't know. I mean, I had never thought of that question before.
Yeah, because of the way Zipporah responded and had the two boys circumcised. Her family obviously knew that they were supposed to be circumcised. She had been raised with that understanding and knowledge. And YaHuWaH's response toward the boys for them not being circumcised, that it riled up the anger of YaHuWaH because the boys hadn't been circumcised. I believe that Moshe probably should have known that and had already taken care of it. But then Zipporah did take care of it and saved their lives. Or specifically Moshe's life. I think his life was the one that was on the line on that.
Yeah. Because YaHuWaH was seeking to kill Moses.
Yeah. Yeah, he was hid for 3 months, it says in Exodus 2, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the priestly line. But of course, these are Moshe wrote the Torah after they had already gone out of Egypt.
Yeah.
It all got written down. It got written down about Abraham and the covenant of circumcision. And I guess it's a great time to say that, by the way, YaHuWaH calls the circumcision Brit Milah, and what is done today on little boys and is protested greatly is the Brit Pariah. It's taking far too much skin. So when Sherry said there's no pain through the 8th day, I'm thinking, boy, I feel like my baby sure had pain. But they had a Brit Pariah. That's what is done in the hospitals and mostly done with Jewish rabbis and with their horrid custom as well, of putting their mouth on the baby's genitals, where babies had even gotten herpes and died from that little tradition there. The Brit Milah is not that much flesh coming off of the front of the penis. So I actually heard about a man in Canada. I've spoken with him before. And when he found out that his son needed to be circumcised and the boy was 4 years old, he circumcised him and his cousin turned him in and he served a year in jail for that. But he did the Brit Milah, which is the flesh in the front of the penis, not around the whole glans penis, the tip of it. I think that is painful. But what do you think, Sherry? Do you think that there's pain or for that?
Well, there's also, if you think about dealing with that area, it would scare a young child. So the crying may be from fear and not from necessarily pain. And yes, the vitamin K on the 8th day is higher. And there's some interesting other things about vitamin K, because that's one of the factors that you have to clot. So if somebody that's bleeding that's had warfarin sodium, where they take it for coming in for a blood thinner, or it's also in a lot of mouse and rat poison. So if you have like some livestock that accidentally ingested some rat poison or some mouse poison, give them some vitamin K and that'll keep them from dying.
Oh, that's great to know.
But yeah, if you think about it, at a young age, when babies are defenseless, and so you have somebody messing with their private area, that can be a very scary thing. But when you go into some of the physiology classes and stuff and learn about the bodies and stuff, it's not truly innervated until after the 8th day down there.
Wow. That's really awesome to know that. Yeah.
Meant, I think you know, so that's why, even, when they went into the desert, there was so much going on and there was so much rebellion on a lot of different levels. It would not surprise me that they did not circumcise them to put them under the covenant.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was rebellious parents. And then of course it was a mixed multitude coming out of Egypt as well.
Yes.
This was completely foreign to them.
So by the time they went to the promised land and started settling, that the ones that were there that received the promise probably put themselves and their children then under the covenant.
Yeah.
Because they seen that Abba didn't just leave them there to die in the wilderness because of their parents' lack of faith.
And also, I believe that there was something about when you come into the land, you will keep the Passover.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to be circumcised in order to keep the Passover.
Yes.
And that's when the manna stopped as well.
Yes.
Wow. Well, there's nothing like the fiery scorpions and serpents here that would also help them learn to not be a rebellious people as well.
Yeah.
They had a plague there that killed thousands, tens of thousands. Can you imagine? These are sort of instant. Unlike today where a person can sin and the consequences of that sin might not be felt for years beyond that. These were pretty instant responses, like the time where he talked to them about the meat in their mouth, right? It's gonna turn them sick and they're gonna die from their rebellion and complaining against YaHuWaH. Instant response.
I think there's so many things that we may not realize what as an interest or recognize as an instant response from YaHuWaH anymore.
Yeah.
On so many levels. And then some of the methods that Abba was using to bring about some of the consequences. We have developed ways to circumvent part of it or put off part of it. We don't think about, some of the STIs in case there's any kids around. I'll use the initials. That a lot of times that brought about a terminal result, for those STIs. But now we have medications that deal with those things. And then as time has went on, we're seeing that things are becoming drug resistant and bringing back the same consequences that it originally meant. Because those kind of things are, when we studied Isaiah a few years back, it was, those types of things were done in order to teach man righteousness. And we're trying to circumvent the consequences because we want to continue in that sin in certain areas. And or we sit there and people that have self-medication or abusive substance issues. We're doing a lot of things to circumvent the consequences for it. And like some will have the the sclerosis of the liver, and they'll go get liver transplants instead of, to avoid the consequences that was intended.
Yeah. Great points. Great points, Sherry. Absolutely.
So I can see where YaHuWaH, when he talks about, when they talk about the parable of the wheat and the tares, waiting until the fullness of the age, or the fullness of the evil that comes out, that he needs to do that to be able to rip it all out and save those that belong to him.
Yeah, that reminds me, I think it's in it might be in 15. Let's see. I think it's in 15, where he talks about when the fullness of time comes, he will bring Abraham's descendants out of, it's in this chapter. He'll bring them out of the land. In the fourth generation, they shall return here, for the crookedness of the Amorites is not yet complete.
Yeah.
So there's a completion of wickedness. And then those people get taken out of the land. I've given this land to your seed. And there again, he says from Mitzrayim, which is Egypt, to the great river, the river Euphrates. So that's a large piece of land. This was land given to Abraham.
So interesting. I've been studying a little bit about the Amorites, and in relation to this code I'm finishing up on, the war that's going on, the Amorites, it's just so interesting. I think it's Exodus 17:16. Can you go there? I mean, it's just so interesting talking about what's going on today. I think it's 17:16.
Okay.
17:16. Yeah, 16, for he said, because a hand is on the throne of YaHuWaH is to fight against Amalek from generation to generation. That means that's what we're fighting right now. We're fighting the Amalekites, which that's what Haman was. Haman was a descendant of an Amalekite. Haman was a Hitler. We've always got, we're going to, he says that. But he says, because the hand is on the throne of YaHuWaH is to fight against Amalek. I mean, it reminds me of when he says, I'm going before you. I'm fighting the battle. You think you're fighting it, but I've already gone before you and fought the battle and won the battle. But you still got to go through the motions. But this generation to generation applies to us. So that's what he means by the fullness of the Amalekites. That's the end of time.
Who are the Amalekites now?
Do you know that we're considered the Amalekites?
We are?
Yep, along with Islam.
You mean through the eyes of the Jews, current day Jews?
Zios, yeah.
Okay, yeah. They were giants. They were the Nephilim. We're talking about the bad seed, the hybrid nations that weren't a people when Joshua crossed over, first into Jericho, and the giants. So these are the giants. These are the hybrid offspring of the sons of Elohim. That's what he's fighting against, to put that down until that's completed. That we're going to have to deal with that those people until the end of time. Every generation has fought those.
Who was it that just made the comment about
The Amalekites?
yeah, was it you, Sherry?
No, it's me, Leah.
Oh, Leah, yeah. And that kind of triggered some thought. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it's their replacement theology that they are the true covenant of Abraham. It was, I mean, Ishmael is has the true covenant, and it's Isaac that is the opposite. And
Yeah.
so it's their replacement theology that is pushing that agenda.
But what I'm referring to is the Zios. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. Add an N on there. The Orthodox.
They think we're the Amalekites, the believers in Yahushua.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Along with Palestine and the Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's just wrong. This goes back to Og, and Bashan and all of that at the base of Mount Hermon. This goes back to the alpha of stuff, the Amalekites, Agag. Haman was one of the last descendants of Agag, who was an Amalekite. And they say, Leah, we've talked about this before, that they say there's still giants over in that land, in Afghanistan and all over there. But like these are the offspring of the Watchers.
Yes, but they don't look at it that way.
Yeah, I know they don't, but
Definitely the covenant was with Isaac.
yeah, but you can see that in Genesis, in that verse we just read, from generation to generation, we're going to have to deal with them from generation to generation, and until they're wiped out, it's not over.
Right. And when
Yeah, so as they're saying that that's what they're doing right now is wiping out Amalek,
Yeah,
we're included in that.
really, I didn't know they considered us included in that.
that's because of their replacement theology. Yeah, and they're thinking because they are Ishmaelites. And yeah.
I think it's Iran,
The Noahide that's coming.
yeah, like Iran is this, all this, like Esther and all that area. Iran, which is, I think,
That's
controlling
Persia.
Hezbollah and Hamas. Those are Hezbollah and Hamas. Those are Amalekites. Yeah. Those are Amalekites. It's really cool. It goes across my whole table. Amalek.
In the process of time, Amalek should be totally ruined and rooted out. Amalek's rooted out. Amalek's destruction was typical of the destruction of all the enemies of Mashiach and his kingdom.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like here's the enemy, and they're known as Amalekites. They're going to be your enemy forever, from generation to generation, until it's like they're always wanting to kill the Jews. Somebody's always wanting to kill them. The Egyptians or Haman or Hitler, or they've always, and this is going to happen probably again. We can see that. We can see that building.
That is the seed of the serpent going after the seed of the woman.
Yes.
It's been happening.
Yeah. But it's the pulse of that's quickening. It seems to be. They blame everything on the Jews, all the, like Hitler did, all the bad, everything bad that, well, they're jealous because the Jews are successful. They're smart. They're the smartest. They're the most gifted. They're the wealthiest people in the world. And they're hated and jealous because of that.
It says Esau was the father of Amalek.
Yeah, and he hated Esau.
So how does that equate to giants if Esau is his father?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I don't know. He was a twin. I don't know. Cain and Abel, twins. I don't know. There's some kind of back to the garden.
It doesn't say who his mother is.
Yeah, it doesn't say who his mother is. That's true. I think his mother, now that you say that, I've heard before that his mother was a I don't want to say giant, but was a Nephilim.
Here we go.
Have you heard?
Amalek.
Her name began with a T, I think.
Grandsons of Ada.
They are rubbery.
Oh no, so Esau's wife is not, there's her name. That's not it. Of Anna, the grandson of Zebedon. Poor Esau. And Korah.
Well, we know that they weren't people that
It gets
Esau's
confusing
parents were
because
happy
of
about.
the Gemini twin lines that came out with very similar, almost exact names, you know, through the bloodlines.
Yeah. There's something going on with twins in scripture that means a lot.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of twins.
There's a lot of twins.
If you go down the names of the bloodlines, right, especially going through Enoch, there's the whole line that has the names very similar to the lines
Yes.
of
Yeah.
Adamic
Right. Where,
family line, right?
yeah. Like Enosh and Enoch and
Yeah.
like he was copying Canaan. Yeah.
So
Copying.
there's got to be, you know, in and amongst all of mankind, there's got to be like the wheat and the tares.
Yeah.
And only YaHuWaH can work out who that is.
And you know, that's so
None
interesting,
of us can
Leah,
determine who Amalek is. None of
'cause-
us. I
yeah.
don't care where you
There will
live.
be war against them from generation to generation. There will be war against them because they lifted up their hand against Elohim's throne in attacking Israel.
They lifted up his hand against YaHuWaH on his throne. I mean, if we take that back to the original, that's the war in heaven. So the descendants of, you know, I don't know. I think it's the hybrid sons of man mixing with the daughters of man, sons of YaHuWaH, the watchers that came down and defiled themselves, the fallen angels, you know, offspring of the fallen angels.
Maybe.
And you know what? If you're a tear, do you know you're a tear? Because there's not like kind of a tear. There's a weed and there's a tear. So if you're a tear, do you know you're a tear? Do you just think you're a wheat?
I
Or
think you do know you're a tear.
I think you do too.
I do. I 100% believe that you know there's a difference between right and wrong. You're either on the side of truth or you're on the side of, you know, whatever.
Right.
Because even if you're lukewarm, you know, Yah says, I spit you out of my mouth. But it's funny that you're bringing up the wheat and the tares because Yah has been bringing that scripture up to me this last week multiple times. And because the wheat and the tares grow together. Otherwise, if he plucked up the tares, some of the wheat would be plucked up with it. And so it's like the situation that's going on in the Middle East. You've got wheat and tares going on. And I see a lot of people, you know, the Father, when he wants to, he gives me some really good discernment. And right now I am discerning a plumb line with people that can't make up their mind on what side of the road they want to be on. And they're very wishy-washy. One minute they're supporting, you know, the scriptures in Israel. The next minute, you know, a news organization comes out and does propaganda and they're supporting that. And, you know, it doesn't set well with my stomach. And I've had a couple of experiences in the last week and a half that I've sat back and I watched and I prayed about it, and the Father brought the wheat and the tares together. And, just because we believe in YaHuWaH, just because we keep the feast days, just because we go by the dietary laws and, the Shabbat and the calendar and all of that, it doesn't make us, it says, choose ye this day whom you're going to serve and stick with it.
Mm.
And so, that your seed may live. So, I see people wavering. You don't have to sit in a church pew to be Laodicea or lukewarm or, not really there. But I'm seeing, people that are coming out of that system that are still unstable. And it concerns me for the future for them in their destiny, because if you cannot discern, and I think spiritual discernment is so important in these days, that we don't be gullible about every wind of stuff that's going on. Yes, we can be informed. Yes, we can understand the seasons and the times in which we live, but be careful what you pass on to others, because others are very weak and they can believe anything. And you can see that in the universities, you can see that globally, you can see that at airports. I mean, it's crazy. So it says there's a time in Ecclesiastes, there's a time to speak up and there's a time to be quiet. There's to go to war, there's a time to peace. So there's a time and a season, and we as mature believers need to guard our mouths and our thoughts. And about a year ago, at least last spring, almost a year ago, I told my friends, I said, I'm stopping sending stuff out. I'm not going to be sending stuff out anymore. And doing this report and that report. I'm not doing that. I only do a Torah study once a week, and I send that out to my email list. But other than that, unless it's something, educational, vital, whatever, but it's rare. I don't do that anymore. And so I put a boundary on myself. And if others want to do it, that's up to them. I don't care. But my point is that in these last days, there is going to be the wheat and the tares, and they're going to be growing together. And yes, every nation is a tare, and Yah is going to weed out the tares. Our nation is a tare. Name me a nation that doesn't have something going on politically that is not good. Yes, the world is in a mess. The Ruach is being withdrawn. And so as it's being withdrawn, Yah is stepping in. You don't think that the angels are not fighting? The messengers are heaven. The Father is fighting for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going on right now. If there's a war here, there's a war in the heavenlies.
That's right. And he is fighting for us, and he's fighting for truth. And so the focus does not need to be on the tares, the terrorists, the terrors. Yeah, what they did was horrible. It was horrible. It made me grieve, and I'm still grieving over that and that situation. And, what if it was my family? What if it was your family? What if it was your husband and your cousin and your daughter and your son? People have got to, I know, there's backstories to everything. There's backstories to our country. There's backstories to Russia, to, China, everywhere. There's backstories. But the focus is on the wheat, the wheat, the good.
Mm.
So that's, it's funny that you're mentioning the wheat and the tares, because I'm sorry to go, so deep into this, but this is something, the scripture that the Father has brought up to me in the last week and a half. And I got a couple of emails from a couple of friends and wanting me to look at this, and I saw the cursor to what they were talking about. And even though there may be some truth in that, it made me sick. I went to bed sick to my stomach. I went to bed and I said, Father, I can't force myself to watch this. And I said, what's going on? And he brought the wheat and the tares. Gail, there is wheat and tares out there. And my focus is on the wheat because I want to save the wheat. The tares know who they are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's an interesting paragraph right there, Darla, that you have highlighted.
Yeah.
That phrase "from generation" by gematria or gematra signifies the days of the Messiah. Amalek may be considered as a type of Antichrist whose hand is against the throne of YaHuWaH, his tabernacle, and his saints, who with all the anti-Christian states which make war with the Lamb will be overcome and destroyed by him. So it's like an Antichrist. The Antichrist. So the Antichrist is, yeah. So you could say Amalek. Do you want to say Amalek?
Yeah.
The Amalekites.
Mavi, it's time for shower.
Sorry?
What's interesting about what you just said, Terry,
Uh-huh.
in stuff, and Miss Gale, is that it's the nations that make war with the Lamb.
Mm,
It's
Yeah.
not the Lamb making war with the nations.
yeah.
It's the nations that prompt the start of the tribulation and the end of the age.
Yeah. Oh,
Because after the witnesses and the judgment and the right ruling is given, that the ownership or the authority that Yeshua has been given, the authority to and the ownership of the earth, that's when the nations become enraged and make war. They are the ones that initiate and start. So there's things that happen to prompt different things as it's going on. And when we look at what's happening with Hamas in Israel, and if you look back, I've always believed we're waiting for the sixth seal to open. I could be wrong. Other people have other opinions. But when you look at the 144,000 being sealed over, what prompts them to accept to be sealed? There has to be some persecution that's very severe, because that's what Abba uses to teach righteousness. He's always used persecution and stuff with Israel to get them to turn back towards him. So it has to be pretty severe to have 144 male virgins to be sealed, to be sealed with the seal of God and these things. So when we're seeing this happening, I think this is what is instigating that turn to be sealed. For that nation to sit there. If you look at how Israel is today, a lot of it's quite secular as well. And there's the other that's not, but what turns to put these men from these tribes to sit there and commit themselves? When we look at Leviticus, we can see what the seal of God is, or the seal of Abba. Abba, please forgive me for using the bad term, but what is prompting it? It's the persecution, like what we're seeing right now.
Darla, can you pull up Young's literal translation? Do you have that ability to do that?
Is that one of them here? Does it? I can check.
Yeah, it's just Young's literal, because I know I brought this up before on your class, that Young's literal has that not in the singular thousand, it's in the thousands. So, the 144,000 is theologically pure, and they're not defiled with any mixed doctrine. Their mission is, everything is going to be restored. Every single truth is going to be restored, and they represent the truth going forward. But it's interesting because it is in this plural, which means more than one. So it could mean 125, 104, let's see, 12,000 from each tribe, which could be 144,000 from each tribe. And that would make it 1.5 something million, which is a huge army. Now, I don't know that that is correct, but it's an interesting point that Young's literal does pull that out.
Sarah, you want to look at the Aramaic on that?
In Revelation 7, sure.
Are you able to share?
Sure. Yeah, let me get there. So that was Revelation 7.
Yeah.
Okay. This I saw boring.
Might be about verse 4, something like that.
I heard the number who were sealed 144,000. So it's not plural here.
Yeah.
Let's see if
Got your olive word there, yeah? Olive
yeah,
word.
at the olive. Let's see what it says here. Okay, so it is thousands. It can be thousands. I guess it's like Aleph is 1 and Aleph is 1,000,
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
yeah, so I can see that. I can see that. That makes sense, y'all.
It's
Yeah.
interesting that unexpected cosmology, they're doing the start of scripture reading right in the Paleo Hebrew. And he says, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but in the Paleo, the 144,000 are women.
Well, Greek, it's a plural of uncertain affinity, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000.
What is it? So where does it say men here? Does it say men or does it?
It somewhere else it says who have, let's see, 144,000 of the tribes, they have not defiled, something about defiled themselves
With men.
with men or with women. Is it with men?
It's right there, S12 182, men, from Revelation 7:6.
7:6. Okay.
The tribe.
1,000. Oh, that's men, a word. I'm sorry.
So that word men is like the Hebrew or the Aramaic word for from.
I see.
Yeah, it's not a translated word to men.
Yeah.
Not women.
So he names every tribe here, 12,000. Let's see, what are the verses that say that have not defiled themselves, or is that before this?
Yeah, what is that verse? Well, let's see if I can
Yeah.
find it as well.
Saw 4 angels standing over the 4 corners of the earth and holding the 4 winds. That may not blow the wind on earth, neither on the sea, neither on any tree. I saw another angel ascending. Another angel ascending the dawning of the sun. So it'll be from the east. Is to him the seal.
It's in 9.
It's in 9.
Wondering if it is in 9.
7, 9.
No, I know that 9 talks about the sealed remnant as well.
Yeah, where is that? Where does it say that? 144,000 that have not defiled themselves. Where's the definition of that? Where is that? So 144,000 must have been mentioned somewhere else in scripture.
Mm. We've got the 2 witnesses in chapter 11. The 2 witnesses, these are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands that are standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if anyone wants to harm them, fire comes from their mouth and consumes their enemies. And if anyone wants to harm them, he has to be killed in that way.
I wonder if it's in Daniel, 144,000, if it's in Daniel. That number.
See,
There has to be because it does describe the 144,000, the qualification.
Revelation 14:1.
14:1. Way to go, Leah. 14.
and maybe up through 14:4.
Standing on Mount Zion with him 144,000. Here it's plural.
Same word, yeah.
Yeah, it's the
It
same
must
word.
be like that, the base numbers, right? Like you've got 1, you've got 1,000, you've got
Yeah.
thousands.
Yeah,
Like how many zeros are in that exponent?
yeah.
Multiplicity.
Right. So who have his name upon, let's see, who have upon them his name and the name of his father written between their eyes. So
And
that's
then
2
maybe all the
names.
way down to verse 4, I also saw just quickly. I didn't get to read it, but just search for it. There we go.
And these are those who with women have not defiled. Virgins, for these who cleave to the Lamb, they are these who cleave to the Lamb everywhere that he goes. These were
And
redeemed from men.
There's it. There's men.
There's
These
men.
are men.
Nasha, the first fruit. So these are the first fruits. Redeemed from men. Let's see what it says about the first fruits right here. The first fruits, the beginning, the first generation, the first fruits, the origin. These are men, the origin. Wonder what that means. From the beginning. Commencement. Order of time, beginning, first estate, magistrate, power. Wow. That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Original. These are 144. Like,
So Terry, can we look at the word virgins then?
yeah. Let's see here. Bethula. It's like Bethula. You know, that's the star. That's Virgo. Her name is Bethula. A maiden, an unmarried daughter, a virgin.
That word woman also has a definition of betrothed.
Women, wives, the women, a women, of a woman, of women. Let's see. Probably from the base of a woman, specifically a wife, woman. Yeah, I've heard that there's 144,000 men who are virgins. I've heard that. I don't know, that number 144.
Well, that's what the scripture here, that's what it's saying.
And
Right?
different
They haven't
versions.
defiled themselves with women.
Yeah, defiled.
But what I'm saying is the paleo actually says that it's women.
That's really
So I don't know
weird.
how I don't know how it changed from that to
Yeah, I wonder. soil, anoint, defile. Contaminated. They're not contaminated.
Right. They don't pollute, stain, contaminate, defile.
It almost makes
Those who have kept themselves pure from the defilements.
it almost makes me think of Noah, like he was pure. He was pure in his DNA.
They have not soiled themselves by fornication and adultery. So they're theologically pure. And as the Father, when we come into the Hebraic roots, it's crossing over and you get a mikvah and you take on a new identity and new name, and you have Hebraic eyes and Hebraic ears, and you're he's cleaning us all up. So those are those who have kept themselves pure from the defilements.
So is it kind of like eunuchs then?
Yes. The elect, from the four corners, if it were not possible, it is possible. It's possible to be part of the elect.
Well, and it also says the first fruits.
There you go.
The first fruits, and
Yes.
then it talks about origin. You see anything in that word there?
Well, I mean, you got your Resh, Shin, and a Ta there. Those are the last three letters. So those are your root letters, your root word letters there. Resh, Shin, and Ta. The Aleph is going to be the. It's a suffix that means the in Aramaic. So your root word there is Resh, Shin, and Ta, and that's giving you your first fruits. I mean, I think that's pretty cool, don't you? Like the last three letters.
And also here we've got a Ta and an Aleph.
yeah.
So that's into the beginning. So if you're taking the origin back.
See, that's his mark, his sign, his seal.
Yeah, you're going back to the beginning. So this is at the end with the Ta, but you're going back to the original origin. So this would be head, fire. Isn't that fire? By my hand.
To purify, to cleanse.
By my hand, purified and cleansed by my hand.
Sign of the covenant.
Sign of the covenant. Redeemed, taken back home. Redeemed means to be bought or redeemed. So if they were redeemed, then they were fallen at one time. They had to be bought back.
And then what does it say at the end there? The first fruits to Elohim and to the Lamb. For in their mouths is not found falsehood. So there's no lying in them.
And you have the olive tav at the end again. The tav and the olive on falsehood.
Wow, can we click on that word? Because I'm seeing the word galut there.
Yeah, it is. What is that word?
Well, that's like exile. Galut is exile.
Okay, falsehood, lies.
They're without.
Yeah,
falsehood.
With falsehood. So
they're without falsehood.
Also falsehood. Galut. That's where we get the word Galatians from. Galut.
Lying.
Exiles. There's
was
falsehood exiles. That's pretty deep right there.
That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
So if they were redeemed, then that means they were fallen at one time. Because you can't
I think redeemed, and it says the lamb, they follow the lamb wherever they go, and they were redeemed. I've been redeemed by the blood of the lamb. All right, Yeshua died. There was a reason why he died. Is in Hebrew, and you probably know this because you're all smart ladies. But in Jewish law, in Hebraic law, in order to Mary, again, your first wife has to die. And so Yeshua had to die in order to make a new covenant and to marry us, the first fruits. And so there was a legal reason why he died. Yes, he died for our sins. And you were
Oh,
saying the redeemed. Yes, we've all been redeemed. Every one of us has sinned and come short of the glory of Yah. But the reason he died was a legal binding reason under Jewish law. And so in order
that's so
to
cool.
marry, the first wife had to die. Yeah.
Well,
So
remember at Mount Sinai, wasn't that like a wedding feast? Wasn't that like a wedding when he first gave the commandments, the
yeah, but they
laws?
broke the covenant.
But they broke it. So, right,
They broke the covenant.
they broke it. So Yeshua had to die. Had to die.
So he redeemed every one of us, but also know that there is a technical, legal,
Mm-hmm.
binding agreement that Yah had to go through in order to purchase us back
Yeah.
and to redeem us back.
Yeah.
Terry, can you go back down on the screen where you were when we were talking about Galut?
Loot.
Yeah, it's
Where
below,
was that?
I think it's below 14:7. It was down
It's
below there.
below. Okay.
Yeah. So we were looking at where it was it, maybe it was in 4, verse 14:4, maybe, where it was talking about right there, the falsehood. Look at the letters in falsehood and without. So you've got Dagalutha, and then without is Dalah. So the letters in without are also in Dagalutha. There's a Dalit, a Lamed, and an Aleph. So that's without. That's with it. So the word without is inside the word falsehood.
That's cool.
Say that again, Darla.
Okay, so you see the word, Gail, it says without on the left there, and it's a Dalit, Lamed, Aleph.
Right.
Those letters are found within the word falsehood.
Yeah.
They're without.
Yeah, they have that's falsehood there. Dagalutha is falsehood, but the word without is inside the word falsehood. You can pull it, you can draw it right out of the word falsehood.
Yeah.
You can eliminate the gimel and the wa and the ta.
Sure, I see that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool too.
I was thinking here, going back a little bit on the first fruits. If we think about the feast of the first fruits, where the firstborn had to be redeemed,
Right.
or done, and it could be that where they start where they haven't been able to do the actual rituals or the actual of the appointed times on some of this stuff, like with the first fruits. They may reinstate that may be part of that.
I find this so cool. The origin, the first generation.
Yeah.
Well, the first generation, who was the first generation? That's Adam.
Yeah.
Well, we have it right in the first word in Bereshit.
Yeah.
Resh, Shin, Yod, Ta, right there is in Bereshit.
So it's back to the beginning of
First word of the Hebrew scriptures is Bereshit.
Yeah. Rashi. Okay, y'all, this just means back to the beginning. This just means this eon is complete. We've gone full circle. We've gone Aleph Ta.
Yeah.
So this is
going to be the
Ta.
first fruits of the new age, or
This
the
is
new.
yeah, first fruits of the new age. Oh, that's so
So they,
cool.
and of the millennial reign. So they probably are going to enact that, actually carry through with the the Feast of the First Fruits where they redeem their firstborn. That could be part of that, of the, what they're meaning by the 144, setting them aside and all of this, and it would be the first fruits, the first generation of the
Mhm.
of Yeshua's
The
reign.
first, yeah, the first generation of the millennia, beginning the millennial reign. That's so cool that this is Rashita.
Yeah, Rashit, Bereshit.
Bereshit. So we're back to the beginning. This is Aleph
That's
Ta. That's Ta.
That's right. That's right. And in that first verse, you have the Father and the Son.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Aleph Tav, the Father and the Son. That first verse.
And there's the
Resh-
Father and the Son right there
Resh-
too. To Aloha and to the Lamb.
Aloha and to the Lamb.
And
Wow.
isn't it awesome to think about, can you imagine speaking to people that there's no falsehood in their mouths? There's no falsehood found in their mouths. It's not found. I think that's pretty cool too, that word found.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not found in their mouth. Yeah,
That's
just
as if it was looked for, like it was tested.
she was found. Esh. Is that the word for female? Ish.
Ish,
Ash.
Yeah.
Woman.
Also fire.
Yeah, fire and woman. She is found. Defined to happen, to be able.
What is that word, Terry? Just a little bit above there, right there, that Hebrew right there. From the root word.
Aleph, Shin, Kaf, Het.
Is it link there on that word?
No, there's no link.
No.
Can't link it.
So find, happen, be able. Wow. For there without is found, let's see. When their mouth's not is found, falsehood, without fault.
See what fault is. Without spot or blemish. That's us. Without spot or blemish because of him. Found without spot or blemish.
So interesting how closely that is to the English word mom, right?
Yeah.
Mom.
Yeah. Spot or blemish.
Ooh, deceased. Censure, discredit, blame. Wow.
Stain or a blemish.
So there's no blaming them or discrediting them. Wow, that's really cool.
144,000 who were found. 144,000. I've always wondered about that. Just seemed like, I know there's a denomination that believes there's only going to be 144,000 in heaven.
I think that's such a small number compared to the
Oh.
tribes.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's crazy. They're just-
globally,
yeah,
it
it's
to me, 1.5 million something makes more sense. That's a real number from each tribe. 144,000 from each tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like when
Maybe those are the original angels that fell
The
from
first
heaven.
fruits.
That the original angels, the third that fell from heaven, that were deceived by Satan in heaven, at the rebellion in heaven, maybe those are the original. He's going all the way back to the original ones that were deceived. They were deceived too by Satan.
Yeah, but these are from the earth.
From the earth. Yeah, but we had to fall to earth.
Plus, it says it's from the 12 tribes.
Yeah.
But they would have
I don't think those fallen angels get another chance. I
No,
mean,
they don't.
they asked
no.
Enoch to go on their behalf, and they were told a flat out no.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense then.
You were just in another place before you moved it, and it was talking about the earth. Let's see where it is now. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. There it is right there. Whoa, right there, the last line.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Hebrew, it's Aretz, earth, Aleph Resh Zadi. In the Aramaic, it's Aleph Resh Ayin. That's sort of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Ara.
Yeah.
Ara, like that light. It has to do with light. The land, soil.
You can see how it could become area for the earth. Yeah, what does it say? Does it say, it might even say the word area in that. Yep, there it is. It's area. Looky there.
The earth.
Yeah, our English word grabs the meaning. Area.
Area. Area. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you keep going to the right there, Terry. You'll find the soil and then area.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's how we ended up with area, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Looks like it. Region. Yeah.
The idea of empty expanse, room, that is a space of territory. And they really grab that area concept there. Yeah, that's really cool.
That is. Just wonder who those first fruits would be, who they would be from the earth, from the tribes. So the tribes are scattered everywhere, so they're everywhere.
There's not going to be any falsehood found in them. And they're going to cling to the Messiah, right? Cling to the Lamb, the Aloha in the Lamb. And it says they'll have the name of the Father and the Son written between their eyes.
Yeah, you could just spend your whole life studying this revelation.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's so beautiful. And it has an extra barakah in it to study it.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
it is beautiful. It's very beautiful.
It is.
Okay, have y'all had enough study for today?
It's been fun.
It has
Yeah,
been.
that's been interesting. Thank you so much, all you ladies.
Thank
Yeah.
y'all for being here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yoda.
What day is class? What day is class on?
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yeah. Let's see, 10, 11 a.m. Mountain.
Well, that would be tomorrow.
That's right. Is that
So
too
you're
early?
not going to change it with Shabbat being on Tuesdays?
I can definitely do that. You guys want to change? I'm not married to anything on that, so
Well, it can't be Thursday because that's
that is working. How about Friday? Does Friday work?
Friday or Saturday, more likely, more people can join in if it's not during the weekdays, possibly.
Yeah. I can't do Saturday.
No?
No, but y'all go on. Y'all go on.
Does Friday work for you, Terry?
No, it doesn't. I'm
Friday doesn't
sorry.
work either. Okay. Is that every week or just this one?
Oh, just this one. It's my birthday. So
Oh,
Yay!
we're gonna go see a movie and go out to lunch. So we're gonna go see a movie, Napoleon. I hope
Oh.
it's historical. I hope it's not just horrible. But anyway, I got to choose the movie. So
is that the theater?
it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
I haven't even seen a trailer for that or anything. I'll have to look it
Well,
up.
I actually you look it up, Leah, because the song on it, I'm very leery. The main song that's with the trailer.
Yeah.
It says witches and generals and warlocks and I'm like, what? It's
Look what they did to Noah, right? Who knows what they could do to Napoleon?
who knows what they're gonna do to Napoleon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know what happens to Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Yeah,
Wow.
Hollywood is
But
so
what-
good, eh? Just
What
so
day? do you want to do it on?
Well, all right, how about we could
Sunday?
do Sunday,
Sunday might be good. Yeah.
Sunday's good.
and is Saturday normally out for you, Terry? Oh, it
Well, I
is.
take my mom to church. It's
Yeah.
her Sabbath, so I take her to church. So I get home. I can, if it's a lunch potluck day, I mean, I'll be home by 1:30 or 2. So yeah, it's Saturday. No, they're not always out.
Because maybe Bonnie could join us as well if we do a Saturday.
Sunday. She's working Saturdays right now. Oh, but it'll be Sunday for
Sunday
her.
for her, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe we could do Saturday at 2. Does that work?
That would be good.
Terry, does that work for you?
No, I won't. Not this Saturday. It won't work.
It won't work for you this Saturday. Okay, well.
But y'all
Well,
y'all go on and do it. Y'all go on and do it because Bonnie, we miss Bonnie. You gotta have Bonnie. Y'all go on and do it. So Bonnie
Yeah,
can be
so
there.
that's why I suggested maybe Friday. You can normally do Fridays.
Oh yeah,
Terry?
yeah. I can normally.
Let's try Friday. We'll try Friday, and then hopefully we can snatch Bonnie up.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, enjoy the rest of
Yeah.
Shabbat and have an excellent next week. We will be with y'all.
Thank you for
Thanks
leading
so
us.
much.
Shalom.
guys.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank
I'll let
you.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, shalom, sisters.
Bye. Bye, darling.
I'm just here trying to make sure I get my YouTube turned off as well. Let's see how it works.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Shalom. Yep.